Tēnā koutou, whakalofa atu malo alele, ki o rana, talofa lava bulavanaka, warm Pacific greetings, and guten morgen, and hello, and welcome to ConCOVE Tūhura's event today. I'm very pleased that there's so many supporters here in the room to listen to all the good work that ConCOVE has been doing. We've got a lot to share with you today. Today, you might have thought that you were turning up to an education conference or an education forum, but actually what I would like us to have a conversation about is productivity. And I'm also going to share a little bit about how I'm feeling right now, but we'll get to that in a moment. We've got so much hurry up happening in the world around us at the moment. Hurry up and fix the housing crisis. Let's look at a Resource Management Act reform. Hurry up and fix infrastructure investment in the regions. Regional Infrastructure Fund has been launched. Hurry up and figure out how we're going to produce 80% more energy by 2050. Those are the things that we're being asked to hurry up around at the moment. We also have a lot of slowdown happening, and this probably won't be the first time you see this image, or the first and only time you see this image today. We also have headlines like these. And this brings me to how I'm feeling. So for those of you who are familiar with the grief process, it starts with denial. Are these things really true? Are we really experiencing this level of infrastructure, roading, housing issues in 2024 here in Aotearoa, New Zealand? That's the denial piece. And then I start to get really angry. I get angry for Kylie and Eve, who a few weeks ago, if it was even a few weeks, it might have even been last week, and 65,000 other businesses and households that were without power for around 24 hours in Northland. Kylie, the absolute professional that she is, was driving around Whangarei with her phone on charge so that she could make meetings. Eve, the poor girl, you can't go to a dentist and have a dental procedure if there's no power. I also feel for Anne-Marie and Phil. You met Anne-Marie just before, and Phil's there over there. For them and their iwi in Tairāwhiti, facing endless, and it seems like ongoing, regional infrastructure issues. So this makes me quite angry. It's almost as if the system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. One of the problems that we have, or one of the challenges that I think that we have, is in all of the conversations about how to make things go faster, education is not at the table. And even before that, industry does not have as much skin in the game as industry needs to progress in things in New Zealand. The system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So I was lucky enough to head off to Germany earlier this year. We visited 3 cities, Munich, Bonn, and Cologne. We finished our 5 very full-on days with the largest education trade fair called Deducta in Cologne. We visited at least 2 industry sites. We spent a number of times in meetings learning more and more about the German vocational education system and being absolutely surprised and delighted, I guess, by what we were learning and seeing in the time that we were there. Great group of people, one of whom fell asleep in the afternoon on our first day from jet lag, but I'm not naming any names. What I want to share with you first, or just to start, is here's one here. He didn't fall asleep either. G'day, Kieran. I want to talk to you a little bit about Germany and New Zealand side by side and just give you a little bit of data. I thought I'd start with Germany. This is Regnauer. This is 2 houses produced in a factory. fully energy efficient, and they also make the windows there in the factory as well. But let's look at some data. So Germany's per capita GDP, about 48, almost 49,000, 84 million people, $44 trillion in GDP. Their productivity is $109 per hour. The government spends $12.2 billion, 20% of their GDP, if my maths is right, on vocational education and training. The collective industry spend that also contributes to industry training is around $7.7 billion. Their education system is a dual system, meaning that you can follow a vocational pathway alongside a university pathway, and it's world-renowned. That was the very reason we were there. Their apprentice achievement rate is 92%, or just over. The average age that people transition into our sector, into construction and infrastructure, is 19. Their vocational education ownership is industry, and there's a tripartite governance that sits around that with government and industry. Their wages, they do have subsidised wages, so every apprentice gets a subsidy, and then employers are also reimbursed. The importance of construction and infrastructure to their economy, it's critical. And then we have New Zealand. It won't be the first time you see that image today either. So let's take a look at New Zealand side by side. Not doing too badly on the GDP per capita, so probably a level 3, I'd say. Level 3? Yep. And then it goes south from there. $69 per hour worked, productivity. Government spend on vocational education, latest data from TEC, 2024 allocation, 788.2 million, that's 0.2% of our $410 billion GDP. Collective industry spend, so that's industry contributing collectively to our training, 0. Our education is flexible, woo, that's exciting, but it's under great and constant change. Our apprentice achievement rate is 65%. The average age of people entering into our sector is 27. And if you look at the mean age on our workforce journey indicators, I think that's around 35. Yeah, Nina's nodding, yeah. Our education system is fully government owned. We have a very low mana sector, and we have higher wages. It's probably a level 1 clap. And unsurprisingly, the importance of construction and infrastructure to New Zealand is critical. The system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. So we had a couple of visits to some training centres. On the left here, right, some real Roman aqueducts. So these were dug up about 20 kilometres away from the training centre in Kirpin that we visited. And the brick and block layers who go to the Kirpin Centre for their training actually get to recreate these as a part of their training. It's pretty cool. It's just a little sideline fact. I thought I'd give you a bit of an overview of some of the benefits of the dual vocational sector in Germany. At this stage, I was still feeling quite happy, obviously. So 59 or 52.9% of people go into vocational education and training in Germany. They round that up to 61. Because of the flexibility or the dual system that they have, you can start a vocational track and then go to university afterwards, or you can go to university and then come back to vocational. There is that option there. One classroom that we walked into in Kirpin, students were around 24. There was over 50% of those students were women. They were all there studying civil engineering, and they were doing their apprenticeship at exactly the same time as their degree and working. It's going to take them 5 years, but they were learning technical on-the-ground skills, and skills that they needed to learn from the upper education theory side. About 1/3 of apprentices go on to take on a Meister qualification. So to own your own business or to train new people in the sector, you must have a Meister qualification. The Meister qualification is split into 4 parts. You learn theory, you learn practical, you learn how to run a business, and then you learn how to train the next generation of young people coming through. When you're a Meister, you can actually, as I said, run your own business, and in Germany, for the first 3 years of your membership to a German Chamber of Craft and Trade or a German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, your membership is free, so that the Chamber can support you to grow and develop your business. 2.1%, that's the amount that every company in Germany contributes to training and education. That's regardless of whether you are training or not. And that's 2.1% of their salary and wage bill. So industry in the room, just have a think about what that might look like and what collective contribution that could make to New Zealand. Employers are supported, as I mentioned earlier, so if you have an apprentice, you get some subsidised wages for 10 months in the first year, 4 to 6 months in the second, and then 1 month in the final year. And that's to follow the progression of productivity for a young apprentice. Capstone, consistency and trust. So industry, because they have skin in the game, they've contributed 2.1% of their salary and wage bill. They are also involved in the final assessment. So in Germany, your apprenticeship is assessed at the end. It's based on a technical or a theoretical and a technical examination, and that's run by independent parties, but it's led by industry. That creates consistency. When you ring up a builder in Germany for some renovations on your house, you know what you're going to get. Here in New Zealand, what do? Pray? Yeah, sure. You phone a friend for a recommendation because you don't know what you're going to get. And that creates trust. Vocational education is 70% on the job and 30% in the classroom. 2/3 of your in-classroom education is technical. 1/3 is relating to general things that you need to know. And there's typically 4 subjects that are covered. In that, they've just introduced environmental sustainability as a compulsory and digital skills. 2 things that we know from our research at ConCOVE that are going to need to be embedded into future qualifications here in New Zealand. The 4 relates to the 4 parts. They have an embedded culture relating to education. They absolutely value education, and it's not only education of apprentices, it's also education of educators. And that creates consistency and trust in the sector. Their system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. So what are we going to do about it at ConCOVE? Quick sideline. So this is also the Regnauer factory. It's a house ready for a truck to come in and ship it off to site. The thing that amazed me about this factory was we didn't need dust masks or anything like that. We were walking around with beautiful fresh air. Sure, we were rugged up and we had our safety jackets on, as you would expect, but it was a beautiful example of off-site manufacturing at its absolute best. Super fun to do that visit. So we're going to look at 5 key projects. The first, we're going to look at dual vocational education and training in schools. So what would the last 2 years of school look like, 4 years, so years 12 and 13, if you could, for 3 to 4 days a week, be on job, and 1 to 2 days a week in a classroom. We're going to look at capstone assessments and what might that look like for our industry. We're going to look at what a Meister qualification might look like. So what could happen if we took people through into a master's level, passed their apprenticeship, and taught them how to run businesses and train the next generation of young people. We are already looking at educating our educators, and Kylie and the crew are going to talk to that a little bit later on today. And finally, we're going to look at industry investment. What could that look like? What might the opportunity be for Aotearoa New Zealand? I don't have time to stop, but there is a QR code that I can share with you, because Candice is going like this. But please, there is a report that the delegates from the German trip wrote, and they, unsurprisingly, the outcomes from that particular report, we all wrote very similar things, independently of each other, but the recommendations are there for you to read as well. We learned one more thing, which was a classic quote from a German comedian, which I will almost leave you with. Hopefully, it won't be as bad as it already is. But I'm really looking forward to the day when we can celebrate the success and the implementation of ConCOVE's projects and turn it into an excellent system that is perfectly designed to get the excellent results we need. Kia ora.